come from a sports family. This is my cousin right here, Willie Crawford. He played 10 years of Major League Baseball and won a World Series for the LA Dodgers back in the day. Not only that, this is my father, number 30 there, Curtis Rowe. He's a March Madness college basketball legend. He won 3 national championships for UCLA under Coach John Wooden. Then in 1971, he was drafted first round, 11th pick for the Detroit Pistons. And became an NBA All-Star. As a matter of fact, last year, he was just ranked the top 25 players in Detroit Piston history. I'm Cam Rowe, 6'9". My last job was at Coney Island. They were like, your boy played ball? Like, no, he can make the heck out some chili cheese fries. So my family had big, high expectations for me. And one thing we like to do in my family, we love to make fun of each other, right? It's all in fun. But when I was still actively pursuing sports, my family prank called me on NFL draft night. Now, don't say, oh, they some jerks, man. For real, I got a call. They're like, this is Detroit Lions. We want to draft you. I said, for real? She said, shut up, boy. This your mama. So let me ask you guys this. How many people felt obligated to do something because it was expected of you? Yeah, that happens a lot. Let me ask a follow-up question. How many people made a career choice due to somebody else's expectations? Yeah, that happens. Maybe you became a doctor because that's what your father wanted. Or you became a lawyer because that's what your mother wanted. But I'm here to tell you that overcoming expectations and finding your true passion in life is one of the best decisions you can ever make. One of my favorite quotes is, we should never allow our fears or the expectations of others to set the frontiers of our destiny, right? I wholeheartedly believe in that. And that's what I truly, truly believe in. My father is one of my heroes. As a kid, he was like a superhero, right? I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to walk like him. I wanted to talk like him. And my father actually introduced me to stand-up comedy. He has this big, hearty, wholesome laugh. If you hear my father laughing, you'll just start laughing. It's very contagious, right? And one time I was 7 years old. I hear my father laughing. I run downstairs, and I asked him what was he doing. He said he was watching Richard Pryor's stand-up comedy show. It was live on the Sunset Strip. Now, at 7 years old, I had no business listening to Richard Pryor. But my father let me watch it with him anyway, and it was incredible. And although I didn't understand all the jokes that Richard was saying, I saw the reaction of my father. When Richard was telling the stories, my father was very engaged. And then when he would tell his jokes, my father would just bust out laughing. He actually fell off of the couch. He was laughing so hard. And that's when it hit me. I said, wow, this is incredible. Now, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be a stand-up comedian at that time, but I loved that feeling that it created, right? For my father to just fall off his seat. So I became obsessed with watching stand-up comedy. I would watch it all the time. I would practice jokes in front of my family and my friends, and it was a true passion of mine. But being 6'9" and being the son of an NBA All-Star, I was expected to excel in sports. And I tried. I actually got a scholarship to play basketball at Seattle University, where I averaged an astounding 4 points and 3 rebounds. I'm probably padding my stats a little bit right there now, too. And I had no identity when I played basketball. People didn't even call me by my name. They just referred to me as Curtis Rowe's son. One time I was playing a game, it was on ESPN2, and the announcer said, there goes Curtis Rowe's son, missed another layup. You know, his daddy would have made that. There was another game where I was playing, I could hear the crowd chanting something. I couldn't really make out what they were saying, so I went to the end of the bench, and they were chanting, Daddy's better. Doom, 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 doom. It was something else, man, especially since the crowd that was chanting that was from the school that I played for. So I did not like playing basketball. I just didn't have any identity. I felt lost, right? So after I graduated from college, and this was after my Coney Island days, I got a job working in sales. And to my surprise, I was actually really good at sales. I used to do very well doing sales. And that's because I realized people buy from people that they like. And I used to always make people laugh. And that was the recipe for success. So I enjoyed doing that so much, but I still was not fulfilled. So I had to think about it. I said, what do I love to do? And it all came back to me making people laugh. So I just started to get into stand-up comedy. And when you first start out with comedy, you're not good. But me, I was terrible. I would go to open mics. I would travel hundreds of miles for no pay whatsoever. But I was living in my purpose. But I realized I still had to, realize other people's expectations. Because not only do I come from a sales family, but I also come from a pretty successful family, if you will, especially my siblings. My brother is one of the big wigs at Verizon Wireless. He's the oldest. My sister is the middle child. She's a very powerful, successful attorney. Me, I'm the baby of the family, just following my dreams, as my brother says. Real sarcastic. He doesn't mean that as a compliment at all, right? But I didn't care because I was living in my purpose, man. It was something that I loved to do. So I just continued to work and grind. And when you're doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work. So I continued to get better, a lot better. As a matter of fact, I started getting paid gigs. I started working at comedy clubs where I was the host. Then I got promoted to feature. And now I can confidently say I'm a national headlining stand-up comedian. And one of my biggest moments of doing comedy happened a few weeks ago. I got to headline Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know anything about Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, but it is the premier comedy club in the country, right? So the fact that I had an opportunity to even perform there, let alone headline, was incredible. So a lot of my family and friends came out, but especially I remember the last day that I was performing. My jokes were hitting hard. Everybody was laughing. But in the back, I heard this incredible, wholehearted, wholesome laugh. And I said, that laugh sounds familiar, man. And then after the show, this older, skinny guy walks up and he gives me the biggest hug. And he was just amazed at my performance. And of course, that man was my father. It was his first time ever seeing me perform stand-up comedy that night. And he was truly taken aback. He told me I was amazing. His words, that's what he said. And but it was truly great. And one of the most important things, or the funniest things I think that night, is people referred to him as Cam Rowe's dad. So I talked a lot about finding your purpose, but I want to leave you with this. How do you do that? Number one is two things. Find out what you love to do and why you love to do it. Your why is very important because that's going to keep you motivated during the hard times. I know I love to make people laugh. Why do I love to do that? Sure, I love the feeling that I get from it, but I also love the feeling it gives other people. I can't tell you how many times that people have came up to me after a show who were just diagnosed with cancer or they just lost a loved one, and they said, watching my comedy show made them forget about their problems, right? That is the ultimate compliment, and it's fantastic. So I challenge you all to find your why and do the same thing. Now, one thing I want to say before I leave is, and this may sound cliche, but never, ever give up. And I'll tell you why. Comedy got hard, especially 2 years ago during the pandemic. I almost thought about giving up comedy about a year ago. But I got a call last week to change my life. This person called me and said, Cam Rowe, I work for one of the biggest agencies in Hollywood, and we're going to start putting you in movies and TV shows, and we're going to make you a big star. As a matter of fact, I got you an audition for Saturday Night Live. So follow your dreams. I was so excited, I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got me an audition for Saturday Night Live? She said, shut up, boy, this your mama. Thank you, I'm Cam Rowe, thank you.